What's up guys, it's Apollo Uchiha here, back with the next part of What If Naruto Had Enough with Jiraiya. Now before continuing this, if you haven't then please do leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel. And without further ado, let's continue with our story. Oh yeah guys, please don't mind, it's just that my fan is, on, so that is the sound. Anyway, without further ado, let's continue with our story. Our story begins. Jiraiya was right. This fight did hurt. In fact, the last time he was this badly beaten in a one-sided fight, Tsunade had been caught up to him peeping on her in the hot spring. If he hadn't get medical attention fast, Jiraiya was certain that would soon descend upon him. Ma and Pa were bested and sent back to mountain, where they would no doubt report this incident to Naruto, if not to Tsunade. Man, was she going to be pissed at him. Damn, and here I thought I was hoping to fix things and set Naruto on the path I wanted for him by providing my superior strength. Oh well, maybe my death will be just as effective since the brat does appreciate those who act as martyrs of cause. Thought Jiraiya while he left a small chuckle leave his mouth. You shouldn't laugh, Jiraiya. I have won. You have lost. The time has come for you to die, said Pain, while a chakra rod was in his arm and ready to stab the Sanin, only for a sudden orange flash manifested itself, and Naruto was there glaring down at the Toad Sanin. I figured as much. Look at what he did to you. It's bad enough you fled when those two Konoichis from the Konoichi only village came regarding your promise, but you had the nerve to run after Tsunade tried to beat some sense into your perverted ass. She told you not to come here and do this. You practically committed treason for disobeying her, and for what? To make sure the prophecy stayed focused on me and not on him, said Naruto angrily before he glared up at Pain. Kyuubi's Jinchuriki. You made a fatal error in coming here, of all places, and to save him nonetheless, said Pain while Naruto snarled. I didn't come here to save his dumb ass out of the goodness of my heart. I came here to bring this arrow dumb shit back to Konoha so Tsunade could heal him up, so she could beat him bloody all over again. And Ma and Pa only came here when summoned by the Baka so they could put a Harishin tag on him so I could interfere shortly after they got knocked off his dumb ass. Good thing too, since not even Tsunade can repair the loss of his arm if left for too long. Still, with all the groping he did on women, whether consensual or not, it seems fitting he loses at least one of them, explained Naruto before he kicked Jiraiya in his already broken ribs. For good measures, no respect, whispered Jiraiya while Naruto glared at him. Considering you tried to grope my mother when she was slightly drunk one night and thought you could get away with it, you should have lost your raisin-sized balls years ago. Just another reason for me to fight and beat the living shit out of you, exclaimed Naruto before he picked up the Sanin by the back of his coat. You will not be leaving here with him. He knows too much. As to you, said Pain while the three pots, which were remaining, surrounded them. And you think he wouldn't knew? Do you? Itachi was spying for Jiraiya. He told this idiot everything and passed it along to the Sandaime. After the old shit monkey died, it went to the Gondaime. Not only that, but I have it on good authority that you aren't the true leader of the Akatsuki, just a puppet. Ironic considering you command quite a few of them around us, said Naruto with Pain showing emotions on his parts, with each one scowling. I am a god. My eyes are that of one. You will fall to me, said Pain while Naruto just coughed, like I haven't heard that one day before. Also, the masked idiot calling himself Madara Uchiha. He's not the real deal, just an Uchiha for a student using his name. If he were the real Uchiha Madara, the fool would at least wear the armor of the man and not act like a total idiot in front of the others from the start. So Naruto while Pain narrowed his eyes at this, and so did Conan. Why tell us this? To divide us, asked Pain while Naruto shook his head. No, so you are aware of him lying to you, so you can be ready for when he betrays you for the real plan, for having all the bijus. Or did you really think he would be honest with you regarding the purpose of the giant statue several rooms away? Asked Naruto, since the Toads had been to Ame earlier to scout ahead and saw the statue itself before Jiraiya was even ready to come here. Are you saying it's not a weapon for ultimate power? Asked Conan with Naruto smirking, since he had the Toads do some research, investigation, and serious work, and is using his shadow clones to spread out through the elemental countries to dig through all dusty libraries. Kurama also helped in fill in the blanks too. It took some serious leaps of faith from the fox to disclose things, but it was worth it. I didn't say that. It is a weapon of sorts, a living weapon, dating back to when the sage was alive himself. One that some people think they can control if they have a certain dojutsu in their possession. Ask your fake Madara about it. Ask about the story of Jubi and how it was defeated by Sage. See what his reaction to hear it is, and see for yourself if I was telling the truth or not. Hope you can too put the pieces together in relation to the ugly ass statue and the 9 bijus being needed for it, said Naruto while Pain looked at Conan, who was frowning further. And you wish for us to let you go with Jiraiya as compensation for this information, summarized Conan while Naruto shrugged before the blonde picked up an arm Jiraiya had lost during the fight. Perhaps, as I mentioned earlier, I have a personal score to settle with Jiraiya regarding his past slight against me. You already got your 10 pounds of flesh off of his perverted ass. Now it's my turn. Think about what I said, and don't worry about Kisame. I killed him 2 days ago before he even made it to Eva, and returned Samehara to Kiri and the new Mizukage, said Naruto while Pain and Conan were both in shock now. How? Asked Pain, while tempted to use a chakra to stab Naruto and force him into submission. Simple. Take away his chakra-eating sword and the man runs out of chakra fast without gaining any back at a later time. The sword feeds him chakra because his own body can't sustain any reserves for long due to a genetic defect in his body that is possessed. Naturally, the man did have chakra, but he can't increase or decrease his reserves through training, and what he uses does not come back. It was one of the main reasons he could use Samehara's ability to eat chakra in the first place, and why he killed and liked to fight, absorbing all that chakra through the sword, and no one realizes that the man was a walking chakra-eating factory like his sword. But if you take away the ability to use it and go on a full-out fight with someone like me, you lose in the long run, said Naruto, while Pain didn't look happy with that piece of information. Kisame was considered a biju without a tail due to his massive chakra reserves, but no one had suspected he only obtained such reserves through Samehara. Most assured, the sword took the majority of the chakra eaten off the people and gradually channeled some of it to him. No one assured the man needed the sword just as much the sword needed him. The shark man basically threw himself into fights knowing his enemies would generate chakra his sword could devour and send to himself to keep his reserves up. Kisame's death wasn't expected, but was no real loss to us either. It's time of peace, like what I wish to accomplish. People like him fade for existence, or lose all purpose in life. No doubt Kisame preferred the idea of doing and going down fighting, and did just that against the Cubist Jinchuriki, thought Pain as he watched Naruto readjust Jiraiya onto his back. I'll see you soon. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if the plant man with you fake Madara was in on the original scheme they kept from you. If you do use your Uzumaki sensory abilities like I have, you will know what I'm talking about, cousin, said Naruto while seeing Pain and Conan look at him with surprise. And in a flash, the young blonde-haired Uzumaki was gone. Do you think he was telling the truth? Asked Conan, with Pain narrowing his eyes further in thought. I do not know, but I have a way of finding out. First, I need to replace my paths that are lost. Once they are replaced, we will go get our answers, said Pain while wanting to know the real plan that supposed Madara was keeping from him. Konoha Hospital sometime later. You are a baka. Do you know that? Do you have any idea just how stupid you are for pulling a stunt like that? Going to Ame without my permission for defying me. Do you know just how much I want to beat you within an inch of your life? Demanded Tsunade angrily at the person in the hospital bed. A fully body casted and was at an angle where injured person could not look away. Tsunade-sama, given his condition, I don't think, said Shizune, but was silenced by a glare. Do not pity him, Shizune. Jiraiya deserved his near-death experience. He's lucky I was able to save him and reattach his arm. With enough physical therapy, he just might be get it to work properly. Though personally, I wish Naruto had just left it to rot so he would have one less hand to molest innocent women with, said Tsunade while she continued to glare at Jiraiya with all her anger. You should have let me die, mumbled Jiraiya while Tsunade's glare increased. I should have done a lot of things in my life, Jiraiya. One of them should have been your castrating for peeping on me in the hot springs instead of you just beating you within an inch of your life. I also should have returned to Konoha sooner to help watch over my distinct cousin from the Uzumaki clan. Again, a mistake on my part. Hell, I should have even every single person our sensei allowed to hurt Naruto be put to the sword in public execution, all while making the offspring of the soon-to-be executed watch, exclaimed Tsunade, as she had been tempted to do so given her sensei and former teammate plotted against the boy, since he was going to be a loyal weapon to them, as they thought. even without realizing that boy was on their asses all along. The only reason she didn't do such a thing was due to Naruto having no problems and with venting his angers out on those who had wronged him in the past. No one in Konoha thought the boy would fight back when he came back from his training trip with Jiraiya. Many sure the man would successfully mold Naruto into a submissive weapon they could abuse and command at a moment notice, and as a result they could sleep soundly at night in the belief their action would bring down some measures of punishment upon them. It only further enforced their belief that any harm, slight, or abuse aimed at Naruto was the right decision. If it had been considered even remotely wrong, would they not be punished in some shape or form by the village governing body? Sensei taught you better than to give in to such thoughts and feelings, said Jiraiya while he winced in pain from shifting only slightly to right. Sensei was a liar and a hypocrite. If he were here, I would have beaten him within an inch of his life too. I wouldn't care if he was stronger than either of us. The older man betrayed just about everything my grandfather believed in when founding Konoha. The fact you even support his decision without hesitation on your part only infuriates me further, stated Tsunade further while she was so tempted to smash her fist into Jiraiya's face. The only reason Tsunade didn't was because it would kill him. What about Naruto? He's coming to save me, put the risks of his life. I doubt you would have sanctionized that mission or assigned it to him, said Jiraiya while Tsunade smirked. Actually, I did sanctionize it, and yes, I did assign it to him. Naruto figured your stunt to reverse summon yourself back to the Toad Clan mountain to heal was a mere detour to get to Ame. He believed that when you made it to Ame to face the leader of the Akatsuki, you would fight the man one-on-one in some attempt to make yourself a martyr, to pass down your stupid beliefs using your own death if necessary, to leave a lasting imprint on Naruto's mind. Naruto believed you would use Sage Mode and contact the Toads to tell them that when you did, they were to plant a Harishin marker on your back so he could save your ass after being defeated, said Tsunade while Jiraiya grimaced. Since his former student had out-taught him, it was for his own good, Tsunade. The prophecy needed to happen. It has to be Naruto who completes it, not Nagato. Only one student may fulfill it, said Jiraiya with a look in his eyes that told Tsunade he was obsessed with the damn prophecy. Say for the sake of argument's sake that Naruto is the child of prophecy the elder Toad spoke of years ago. What happens when Naruto does fulfill it? Will he get the praise and recognition with it? The love he rightfully deserves not only from within Konoha after so many years of being hated, but with the rest of the shinobi villages, or perhaps a certain perverted idiot named Jiraiya. A poor excuse of Godfather goes on loud and boastful propaganda campaigning to claim it all for himself, to finally cast a large shadow over the world and all the other shinobis in it after being in the shadows of other great shinobi of past. Questioned Tsunade while Jiraiya refused to look at her in the eyes. It deserved the recognition, whispered Jiraiya with resentment while Tsunade scowled. So Naruto does all the hard work, put his life on the line, nearly dies, and for what? Also you can eat up all saying I trained him, ladies, spread your legs for me to every woman around you. How does everything while you mooch off his success and take this so-called fame and glory for yourself like a leech? Accused Tsunade while Jiraiya was now scowling behind the cast-covered face. I am his sensei, not to mention his godfather. I can do what I wish and how I wish in regards to him and his development, said Jiraiya while Tsunade looked more pissed off. Not anymore. Naruto has disowned you from your so-called rights of his godfather. He did it shortly after he returned to Konoha from training with the Toads while you were peeping off on women as the hot springs. I stamped the order myself. I also made it clear in the brat's record how you fail him as a sensei with your past actions, so no one can argue in your defense, said Tsunade while Jiraiya looked livid. You have no rights, Tsunade, protested Jiraiya while Tsunade glared even harder. You forgot, Jiraiya. I am an Uzumaki by blood, on my grandmother's side. Not only that, but the Senjus are cousins to the Uzumaki clan. I can trump your claim of guardianships on that alone since we are related by blood, countered Tsunade with Jiraiya snarling, said the woman of blood relations who wasn't there for him for over a decade. Jiraiya shot back. Maybe it had been something to do with both you and Sensei kept keeping things from me at the same time. I asked Sensei about Kushina and the child after the QB attack in the message. Do you know what he said in return? They are fine. Nothing to worry about. Keep on wondering and heal. It was until I met Naruto and I thought Kushina had done a bad job of raising him, only to find out that the boy wasn't raised by her at all because she was dead. Something Sensei decided not to tell me. something you conveniently decided not to say or mention after finding me in the bar. You had plenty of time to tell me things in secret, but chose to keep your mouth shut. We both knew you did it for your selfish reasons. You knew I was close to Kushina, and knew if I found out about Naruto, I would have come back and gotten close to him. You and Sensei wanted him isolated and dependent on your sheer presence, said Tsunade while Jiraiya glared back. That's not true, protested Jiraiya, but it was clear Tsunade didn't believe him. Don't bother denying it, Jiraiya. I read Sensei's journal, every page, every verse, every chapter. Every word written in his handwriting, everything related to Naruto and how you two tried to screw him over, exclaimed Tsunade, to the point of nearly shouting, and saw Jiraiya's nerve fade away to admittance almost instantly. It had to be done. Don't you get it, Tsunade? Naruto had to be balanced, not too weak, so he crushed Konoha's enemies. But not to be strong, the brat will be able to turn on us without fear of losing. It had to be done. Jiraiya shot back, bullshit. You don't need to do what was done to him to make the boy loyal. Jiraiya, Naruto's status as a Jinchuriki didn't have to be made known to the council by Sensei. He did that deliberately, knowing it would set off the chains of events needing to make the village hate him. Also, you could swoop in one way or another to provide him the only support you were willing to let Naruto have in life and force your beliefs down on his throat. He has the right to choose, Jiraiya. You had no right to force your beliefs on him. Stated Tsunade while Jiraiya growled angrily. I have every right. I don't care what you say, Tsunade. I am the boy's godfather and his legal guardian. I can do what I want in terms of dictating the brat's future. Do you know why? Because the boy is mine. Mine to mold. Mine to control. Mine to make sure the prophecy is fulfilled the way it was meant to be fulfilled. And if the end result allows me to mooch off that disrespectful shit and live a life of happiness at his expense until the day I die, then so be it, exclaimed Jiraiya with a hint of madness in his eyes and voice. For years, Jiraiya had been in the shadows of everyone around him. Sensei, Orochimaru, Tsunade, Minato, Kushina, just to name a few. Even Itachi was getting up there in terms of his own infamy. Had Naruto not crushed him as the fight day had clearly showed or had been declared a missing nin, the Uchiha prodigy would have truly been one hell of a Hokage, but Jiraiya was tired of being in the shadows of others. His first book, The Tales of Gutsy Ninja, was a complete flop. His perverted books were loved, yet some, all the women, hated the fact that peeped on them in order to get his inspiration, something which he felt should be considered an honor. He proved his greatness with his transparency jutsu and trusty spy network, but was openly ignored for Tsunade's own super strength and her top-notch medical skills. Orochimaru showed off his genius daily before it got all sick and twisted, which only inflated the Snake San's ego to keep holding the bar higher than Jiraiya could reach. Even after it got sick and twisted, people still reversed the Snake San in genius and left Jiraiya in the dust. For Ninjutsu, Minato and Kushina had it down to the point where they surpassed him on the subject like it was a piece of cake. His transparency jutsu, spy network, and he changed the Paradise books, mere footnotes in history compared to some of the exploits of other Konoha. Even some Jonins who had died bravely in the last Shinobi War were treated with more respect over himself. And all because they weren't perverts or superverts like himself. He was tired of it. Where was his flame and glory, casting shadow? Where was his army of people giving him respect? Where were the people who looked at him with respect and fear? Where were the looks of envy, of desire by the women? The answer? They were focused on everyone else but him. So when the Toad Elder spoke his prophecy, Jiraiya decided to seize a rare and golden opportunity for himself, to take this prophecy and mold it into something Konoha could control, could manipulate, could ensure made them to the top village among the five for decades, not centuries, to come. It was why he told his sensei about it. Together they could set things in motion, put pieces in the board, who would act accordingly to their actions and the actions of those around them with just the right nudge. And Jiraiya would be the one to reap the glory behind it when the prophecy was finally fulfilled and everyone speak with his name with respect. He could and would boast on how it was through his training that Naruto was so strong. Not to really lie. But no one needed to know the particular part, and Jiraiya doubted the brat would say anything to the contrary when the time came, especially given how good-natured the boy would have been once the Tosanin gave him just enough mentoring to make the brat see things his way. No longer would a Konoichi glare at him for his perverted ways or for peeping on them to write his wonderful novels. They would practically invite him into the female section just so they could sit next to the man and rub their bodies against his own. He would have so much female tail around him. It would be increasingly easy for Jiraiya to write 1,000 Uchiha Paradise books, all the while basking in the glory of his greatness and truly be respected by everyone of his peers. But the brat had chosen to be resistant of his methods of teaching. His sensei had assured Jiraiya that the need to prove himself and get stronger to obtain the approval of those from within Konoha was imprinted into the brat's mind. How all Jiraiya had to do was dangle a few jutsus in Naruto's face, put the gaki down with a negative criticism, and make it seem like nothing the boy did was enough. By doing this, they could force the boy's drive to improve himself, to focus on getting stronger for Konoha, to fight for Konoha when its enemies came knocking, never thinking outside of the box of doing what he was doing, unless the village benefited. The only reason Jiraiya and Hiruzen didn't do it to Kushina was because Minato and Mito was alive long enough to imprint the Uzumaki ways into her mind. Added Minato's own good nature self not having the strength to break her beliefs or way of thinking only made trying to control her next to impossible. Hiruzen and Jiraiya had to start fresh with a newborn baby, with parents not influencing the brat in order to make their various dreams a reality. The QB attack to the night of Naruto's birth was very much unexpected, but the hidden opportunity was too good to pass up. A Jinchuriki baby, no parents, no friends, no family to influence. The baby made him a blank slate for them to write their intentions on. They just didn't believe the stubbornness of the Uzumaki clan, and Kushina would pass on to Naruto despite the many attempts to stamp it onto him, both physically and mentally. By the end of his little rant, Jiraiya could only stare back at a silent and deadly serious Tsunade, currently staring down at him with a look he couldn't quite understand. There was disgust, loathing, anger, definitely lots of that, and yet behind all of that was a plan to make him suffer. I see. Well, Jiraiya, hope you feel your actions were worth it, because now in this time to see what your actions have produced in the coming month. Tsunade, while Jiraiya frowned at her words. What do you mean? Asked Jiraiya with a hint of worry. Simple. I'm going to heal you, every wound past and present. I'm going to use all my medical skill knowledge to fix your broken, perverted body. Answered Tsunade, while Jiraiya and Shizune looked confused. Not that I'm complaining, but why? Asked Jiraiya. He was confused now. Because I don't want you having an excuse when you fight Naruto. So you can't complain when Naruto shows you what your stupidity has done, so Naruto can enjoy taking your fully restored body and breaking it into million bits of pieces before leaving it to rot. So it's just you enjoy the feeling of your body being back its to prime state, Jiraiya. Because after Naruto destroys it, I'm not healing you. I'm not saving you. Nor will Shizune. If you wanted medical aid after Naruto destroys you, I suggest you go seek a back alley doctor. Tsunade, while Jiraiya was shocked by this. You don't still think the brat can win against me when I'm at my full strength? Asked Jiraiya. Tsunade gave him a cruel smirk. Of course I do. Have you seen the list of S-rank nins he killed recently? And in such a short time. When was the last time you took on so many S-rank shinobi in such short time? Huh? And won. Nonetheless, not only that, but he saved your ungrateful ass from suddenly being killed by another tucked away former student with a grudge that he held against you, said Tsunade while Jiraiya gritted his teeth. You mentioned he used the Harishin to escape pain. How did he do it? Asked Jiraiya while Tsunade smirked at him. He has access to his parents' home, remember? Minato was a genius in Funjutsu, and so was Kushina. If there is one thing Naruto excels at besides Shadow-Clone, it is in using Funjutsu in a way that many would consider it to be scary. Said Tsunade while Jiraiya looked at what? No, he can't have it yet. The Sandam decreed he couldn't until he was mature enough or was joining with considerable experience. Exclaimed Jiraiya, knowing his old sensei had done this to make it nearly impossible for Naruto to have access to the vast knowledge left behind for him. He's mature enough, not thanks to you. As for his rank being a possible issue, I recently promoted him to Chunin. The fact he killed quite a large number of notorious S-rank nins tells me the brat has accomplished the requirement for getting experience, so you can take senses and your stipulations regarding the boy and shove it deep in your ass. What's the matter, Baka? Are you now afraid the brat will actually fuck you up in every eventual fight? Countered Tsunade while Jiraiya growled. He's still immature, throwing a tantrum of how I will train him, bitching about the Biju's chakra hurting him. As for him kicking my ass, never. Besides, you should be more worried about him. He might challenge you for the Hokage seat in one of the fights. Do you really expect him to hold back if that happens? Asked Jiraiya while Tsunade just smirked at him. Fight him? Hardly. Within the next 2 years or 3, I'll give the damn hat to him to run Konoha how he sees fit. Said Tsunade while Jiraiya fumed inside in her doing this. You can't. This is a law in place. One sensei has locked in, so Naruto could never have his dream fulfilled. said Jiraiya was not a frown. And what law is this? I know all the laws in Konoha. There is nothing in the book that says Naruto can become Hokage, replied Tsunade while letting out a small chuckle. Oh really? Check along the lines of requirements. Sensei always had contingencies in place for almost anything. So in the chance Naruto get nominated to be Hokage, a law always put in place to deny him due to his Jinchuriki status. Says Tsunade while Tsunade was now furious about the law. When did this happen? Demanded Tsunade, knowing it could be replaced for the daimyo signed off on it. Shortly after the Godame Mizukage and Jinchuriki Yagura started the bloodline war within Kiri, Sensei used it as an excuse to create a law banning any Jinchuriki of the village from becoming Hokage. He said, "We can't afford Konoha to have future Hokage who is like the Godame Mizukage and one too strong to stop or rebel against. With the clan heads and elders supporting the decision, so you see now Tsunade, the dumb brat can be Hokage. His dream was always meant to be just that, a dream. A hopeless dream he couldn't never accomplish. An impossible task," says Jiraiya while Tsunade seated for a moment. "I can repel that law now, Jiraiya. The elders and Danzo are dead. Amira had his throat slit, and Kohar was found with the woman's body hanged using her own intestines track all within her own home. The clan heads won't deny Naruto or his dream. He's more than earned it. Since he played off their fears, I will channel their minds through Naruto's deeds," said Tsunade while Jiraiya glared at her. "You honestly think Sensei didn't think everything through? That there was a chance the next Hokage for him would take this to the daimyo? This action was supported by the daimyo himself. You want the law repelled? You have to go right through him, and I doubt he will do it. Hiruzen has told him enough about Jinchuriki in general to make the man believe they are too dangerous to be put in higher position of power. The Godame Mizukage only reinforced this, and despite Sabako Nagara being Kazekage, we both know the Fire Daimyo thinks that the Wind Daimyo is an idiot. Naruto's dream of being Hokage is just a dream. Nothing more," exclaimed Jiraiya, since he did not believe the Fire Daimyo could be convinced to help change the law. "We'll see about that, Baka. I still have a trick or two up my sleeve when necessary to deal with daimyos. Plus, Naruto's shinobi record shows he is far more what the Godame Mizukage ever was when ruling Kiri. All I have to do is show him how our sensei was pouring lies into his ears, and the foolishness of supporting those lies will be for him in the future if Naruto is denied becoming Hokage," said Tsunade while Jiraiya just scowled at her, as if the daimyo will believe you. Sensei was a well-respected shinobi and Hokage during his time. Countered Jiraiya will snort smart, and I have enough evidence and dirt to throw up on him, said respected time, to make the Fire Daimyo realize he was being played like a fool by the said man. Snarty short back. "You would do that to your sensei? Where is your loyalty?" demanded Jiraiya while Snarty scowled. "My loyalty is my family, my cousin, both of which you, Danzo, the elders, Sensei, and the rest of the village has betrayed multiple times over. Do not speak to me about betrayal, Jiraiya. I'm not going to just sit by and let people run my family legacy into the ground, nor will I allow those betrayals to stand and to set a cruel precedent letting people believe such things are allowed. Besides, why should I be loyal to Sensei after all of his betrayals to my family and Naruto? Would you?" exclaimed Tsunade while she saw Jiraiya narrow his eyes behind his cast. "He was our Sensei. He deserved our loyalty. You and Orochimaru spat on it. I am the only one truly deserving to be called a student." Spat Jiraiya was not scoffed. "Oh yeah? Such a remarkable title. And what has your loyalty to the man gotten you from siding with Sensei and his ridiculous plans? You being in a body cast, and soon to be in another one, after Naruto finished breaking you into tiny bits of pieces," says Tsunade, since her reasons for betraying the Sandam was pure and for good reasons, since the man had betrayed her first along with everyone associated with the Senju clan. Orochimaru simply did it out of pure spite because their sensei chose Minato to be the fourth Hokage over him. Not to mention all of the illegal experimentations turned the result in the Sandam going rogue. The brat can't and won't hurt me. He doesn't have the stomach for it. I'll beat him like I did a year and a half ago, commanded Jiraiya in an arrogant tone. Considering his tally of S-rank missing nins he killed, I highly doubt it, remarked Tsunade, since she knew the brat was itching for a fight with Jiraiya and training almost every day. As of this date, the boy was becoming a regular juggernaut, ready to run over anyone deeming his enemy and wasn't looking back. Kushina had been that way in many aspects, caring, kind, and loving one moment, but pissed her off, she was an evil red-haired demon from which there was no escape. She would run you over to get to her target if your mind, body, and even soul somehow managed to stand in her way. Kushina's power and skill as a Konoichi had been so great that women made Battle-hardened war veterans sweep and weep and piss themselves at the sound of her name. And now it seems Naruto was showing himself to be the same way and being a force of unstoppable power capable of doing the same thing as his mother. Tsunade almost couldn't wait to see the Kaki smash Jiraiya into million pieces. Ame. Back in Ame sometime later, Pain was not amused, not in the slightest. He had just approached Zetsu under the impression of a mission and had begun to specify the details of the mission when Conan struck. The paper woman was a master in using any and all things paper related, thanks to her skills, honed over the years of training and warfare. As such, it was incredibly easy for Conan to send a paper with a seal on it to the back of the plant man's neck and cutting off its ability to use chakra. Before either half of Zetsu could say anything about it, once the seal was applied, Pain had grabbed his head and ripped out the plant creature's soul and got all the memories of the creature, making Madara believe that his darker half was in fact the Uchiha's will implanted into it for manipulating events from day one, bringing down the by far the biggest five villages to set all the events of the last two generations following the official death of Madara into motion, to one day weaken the shinobi villages one by one to the point where it would be easy for Madara to win against them, even if they all rallied together to form an alliance to defeat the Uchiha. How Madara had secretly planned to come back from the dead using the Rinnegan, and Tobi, who was in fact the thought believed dead Uchiha Obito, to do it. Once brought back, restored, enhanced, and ultimately never capable of dying, the most powerful Uchiha in its history would crush the five biggest before betraying Obito at the last moment, only for Madara himself to be betrayed by Zetsu and the real person who put their will into Zetsu, and it came from in the form of a woman who was in fact the sage of the six paths' own mother, Otsutsuki Kaguya. Pain also got all the memories from Zetsu and the plan of the rabbit goddess herself, and given the plan of the plant man to use the 9 beaches to bring down the Jubi in order to bring about her way of peace, which essentially involved using the moon in infinite Tsukuyomi and locking everyone into a cocoon like things forever. This could not be allowed to happen in his Rinnegan eyes. While Pain did want peace, he did not want it to happen it this way. If it wasn't peace at all, it was genocide on the entire human race until all that was left was Kaguya herself. What do you want to do? Asked Conan while Pain looked at her. We do not need the others. They were mere agents to get us what we want. First we remove Tobi from the equation. Once done, we will hunt the Jinchurikis ourselves, from most powerful to the weakest. Send Pain while Conan frowned. Even if it means killing your cousin, Uzumaki Naruto? Asked Conan while Pain just nodded once. Uzumaki Naruto may be my cousin to some extent, Conan, but I won't let such a thing stop our dreams of becoming peace a reality. It can't be stopped, simply because the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is a part of something long since broken and scattered to the winds years ago. We'll bring about our vision of things, but without enforcing from outside forces seeking to manipulate us, said Pain while Conan nodded, though she wasn't sure how they could do this without the other members of the Akatsuki and the rings outside of their own and Tobi. Shall I contact Tobi? Asked Conan while Pain nodded. Tell him I have an assignment for him. One only his unique talents can provide in moving the plan forward and back on track, said Pain. Knowing he would need to draw the man in close, he might have suspected something, said Conan while Pain looked completely calm. I'm sure he will be suspicious, but it is a risk we have to take, said Pain while knowing the masked Uchiha ability to phase out for a short period of time and teleporting would need to be negated first. I hope you know what you are doing, Nagato, said Conan, knowing that all for the masked man. Display for stupidity in front of others, Tobi was far for stupid. So do I. Still, one should not underestimate him. We have done that for so long. In the event I should lose to him, I have one final assignment for you. Only one you can carry out, said Pain while Conan nodded. I'll help any way I can, said Conan while Pain gave her a smile, barely noticeable smile, on his path's face. I know you will, Conan. This is a command. You should the Uchiha defeat me, said Pain before he told her what was to happen afterwards should the Uchiha win. Konoha sometimes later. You can still come back down, Kaki. Admit I'm better than you, and we can stop this right now. With your pride somewhat left intact, Jiraiya said with a smirk. Why? So you can go around boasting and bragging about how you supposedly bested me in combat while trying to swoon some whore in the red light district, so she'll put her diseased mouth on your junk? No thanks. You already have enough STDs in your body to be able to and labeled as a biological weapon. We don't need your added more to be possible mutation and outbreak, said Naruto while Jiraiya broke in a scowl. You sound like your mother, Brad. If she had just kept her mouth shut, and my relationship with Minato when growing up, I could have made him in quite a ladies' man. Commented Jiraiya while Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah, I'm sure my mother would have loved the idea of marrying a womanizing adulterer with a small army of STDs running around in his system. Or the fact if you had your way, I would have several dozen, if not hundreds, of halves of brothers and half sisters born from loveless sexual escapades, said Naruto sarcastically while Jiraiya summoned Ma and Pa to get into his imperfect sage mode. Both had been informed of the match ahead of the time. While both would have preferred to fight with Naruto and the winning side, they had to do their duty in fighting for their senior summoner on the contact. Not that it mattered. Pa and Ma knew their presence on Naruto would result in the boy being unable to use Sage Mode properly. Besides, they had only seen firsthand his ability to get around the imperfection despite the difficulty of doing it thanks to Minato's seal holding a certain nine-tailed Biju within Naruto. There's nothing wrong with the way of doing things. Everyone else is wrong in judging me for how I do things, said Jiraiya while Naruto gave him a flat stare. That has got to be one of the most stupidest things I have ever heard come out of your mouth since I came back to Konoha. It is all the way up there with your ditching me for horse and you throwing me into a nearly endless ravine to access the Fox Chakra, said Naruto while Jiraiya looked unapologetic for the fact. Sink or swim, brat. It's the way of life. If you can't handle it, I suggest you drown quickly so others don't get dragged down by your dead weight, said Jiraiya while Naruto entered his version of the Sage Mode now. And unlike Jiraiya, it was perfect. The only thing about to be dead around here is you, said Naruto before getting into the toward fighting stance while Jiraiya did the same. Tough talk for a brat barely reaching puberty, said Jiraiya mockingly. Says the man who never achieved it after reaching the twilight years. The only thing you can do early in age and ejaculate into an unsatisfied woman, said Naruto while Jiraiya was sitting at the insult at his male pride. I'm going to enjoy hurting you, said Jiraiya while his eyes Naruto. Says the man who was tucking me and going on a suicide mission to get out of our way of fight you had originally wanted from the start. Naruto shot back before he was gone in a mere second and before his fist was barely caught by Jiraiya. The impact forced the man back several feet while holding his fist. You call that fast? Your father could have done this faster and hit harder too, said Jiraiya while Naruto smiled before leaping away from the sun. I know, I was just taking it easy on you at first, being old and frail at your age. I felt a sudden moment of pity and compassion for you. It's gone now, said Naruto mocking before he got serious and moved even faster. Shit, thought Jiraiya with wide eyes and suddenly felt a pain in his side. From elbow below to the ribs, Jiraiya stumbled and nearly fell over from the blow but managed to stabilize himself, if just barely. Before he could even realize it, a kick hit Jiraiya in the face, followed by a knee to the spine and finished up with an elbow to the chest, each one causing incredible pain for the Sanin, and the impact from the ground further proved Jiraiya, his former apprentice, was no longer holding back. You were always a fool and a loser, Jiraiya. You spent so much time focusing on the pleasures of the flesh, so much wasted peeping on women, using others for your own personal gain and trying to get people to see you as something outside of being a proverbial parasite. But people aren't just blind as you think, Jiraiya. They saw you for what you are in life, said Naruto while walking around Jiraiya like an animal, stalking his prey with calculating eyes. And what does that say about you? People must see you as a demon when they look at you, right? Said Jiraiya while slowly getting up to his feet. I said they saw the truth when looking at you. With me, they're blind as bats, said Naruto while Jiraiya laughed and spit out some blood. Is that so? Nearly an entire village sees you as a demon, as a monster. They can't be all blind. Maybe they do see something about you that can't see about yourself. Asked Jiraiya while Naruto scoffed. And how exactly am I a demon? A monster? If it is simply for holding the QB, then they are just as stupid as they are blind. Just because I hold a Biju doesn't make me one of them. I'm not some weapon or a tool, a pet you can command or expect to obey without question, replied Naruto before Jiraiya moved to hit him, only for the Sanin strike to be blocked by Naruto, who countered by punching Jiraiya just as quickly. That's where you are wrong, brat. You are a weapon, a tool. That is what Jinchuriki are to be to their respective villages. They fight and kill like good little attack dogs and are punished when they don't follow orders, said Jiraiya before he went to attack and tried to land a decisive blow against Naruto. Keyword, being tried. So my mother was one too, and a Uzumaki Mito as well, said Naruto before dodging another arm strike and viciously broke Jiraiya's elbow, followed by kicking the man in the back 3 times before throwing him onto the ground. Of course they were tools. The only difference was neither of one knew it and were too strong and remolded into image other wanted them to become such things. Despite her old age, Mito made sure Kushina wasn't turned when my sensei became Hokage. Even when she grew up to become a Konoichi, Kushina was untamable thanks to Mito's influence, and later with my student, when they fell in love, snarled Jiraiya while hating the concept of the word and how he felt it poisoned his student. What do you have against love? I thought you loved Tsunade, so why say the word like it was something foul? Asked Naruto while Jiraiya glared and charged at the younger man with intent to kill. I don't love Tsunade. I love her body. The body she had when younger, the breast, the ass, the legs, the show of her physical beauty. Ever since I first laid eyes on her in that hot spring, naked from head to toe, I loved the idea of being able to mount that fine piece of Chenju tail until my balls were trained. But she never gave me the time of the day. She had eyes for that sissy boy, Dan, and all because he believed in some things she did. When my student fell in love with Kushina, but does he exploit her love she gave in return? Does he try to act like a real man and take charge of the home, but his future wife in her place? Does he use his ever-growing reputation as a highly skilled jonin and soon to be Hokage to sleep with multiple women on the side? No, he stayed faithful to her because he was in love. So yes, I hate the concept of love as you, Minato, and even Tsunade see it. So Jiraiya, who finally managed to land a punch on Naruto's face, only to find it didn't do much. In fact, the young man's face barely moved from the blow Jiraiya had delivered. Not only that, but unknown to the Sanin himself, Naruto allowed Jiraiya to hit him in order to gauge the man's overall strength. He wasn't impressed. Is this it? Is this all the strength you have? I was expecting you would at least move my body back a few inches or so. But this? I didn't even feel shit. Commanded Naruto before he batted away the first of the stunned Sanin and kicked Jiraiya in the chest. That was my hardest punch. I put everything into it. How? How did you take it and not lose your head? Demanded Jiraiya while sitting as he failed attempt to kill him in one blow and failed. Simple, I'm stronger than you. While you spent your days pimping on women, sleeping with whores, and drinking heavily at bars, I actually bust my ass to get these things at this level. Had you trained me properly like a true shinobi and sensei would, you would have seen the writing on the wall. But like a fool, which everyone called you when growing up, you chose to be a lazy bastard. I was right when I said Orochimaru would have been a better sensei over you. Hell, maybe my father could have helped curb your former teammates' own lust for the darker powers and notion of immortality, since Minato would have been his legacy to the world when dead. Alas, we will never know. Not that you would have allowed it. I get the feeling you would have killed my father out of spite for Orochimaru if that were to happen, said Naruto while Jiraiya spit out more blood and rubbed his chest. Of course I would have killed Minato. The boy was a genius, a prodigy one sees and comes around once in 100 years. Whoever trained him would gain fame and glory and recognition for decades to come. Do you really think I would let such a thing like that to give to the pale-faced freak of nature? It was bad enough Sensei favored Orochimaru all those years ago, but I would have drawn the line at my student not being mine, said Jiraiya, while the look of madness was in his eyes and Naruto narrowed at it. You sound as if the old monkey had planned it on it after telling him of Minato's potential as a shinobi, said Naruto while Jiraiya's smirk increased. Actually, he did just that. My former teammate was so well loved by Sensei at the time that any other choice for master and apprentice relationship was out of the question. I told him to hold off until after the boy was tuning to make a decision on how he would make the boy an apprentice in the future. So I spent the time running a little smear campaign against Orochimaru using my spy network, falsifying various reports about my former teammate's action. I had my spies spreading all sorts of lies about him, about his sexuality, his preference, and even possibly hints of his loyalty being put into questions. By the time Minato became Chunin, I had convinced Sensei to have me take your father as an apprentice, while Danzo offered to take Orochimaru into his root program. And Jiraiya, while Naruto narrowed his eyes at him. I see. So because of you and your clearly inferior ego, if not insecurity, Orochimaru of the Sun was sent into the arms of Shimura Danzo, right into the hands of the emotion-hating war hawk who twisted your former teammate into a sadistic psychopath Konoha has, until recently, been shaken in fear over. And for what? Also, the big whiny baby named Jiraiya could get his bottle. Asked Naruto before landing a few punches and kicks to various parts of Jiraiya's body and making the man stumble. Minato was mine. The prophet stated as much. Anyway, I trained Anyone untrained is mine to do with as I see fit. Don't you get it? The prophecy bringing about peace with me as his sense of the child of prophecy all matters. My name will last throughout the ages as the very person who trained him. I will have my greatest legacy and my shadow stretch far and wide throughout the ages of time. Nothing will stop me. Do you hear me, brat? Nothing! Exclaimed Travel, the madness in his eyes at the last bit of sanity snapping like a rope being stretched to its limits. Actually, there is someone who can stop it. Me, replied Naruto before he was using upon Jiraiya and began to ruthlessly beat the man to a pulp. No genjutsu. No jutsu of any kind, just all out fists, arms, feet, and legs, beating up the Sunny without mercy. Ma and Pa had long since left Jiraiya during this little rambling of speech and decided to leave the fool to the beating of so rightfully deserved. He deserved. Not that Jiraiya would sense them leaving. The man's imperfect sage mode was so incomplete and imperfect, he wouldn't be able to sense if it was gone until he did something that required the use of some such form. By the time Naruto had stopped beating the Sanin onto the ground, the body was too broken to move, or even make a twitch or of any kind. It wasn't surprising when it was over that Naruto had gone through such lengths to beat Jiraiya into oblivion, after all the things he had done. The actions he performed, which caused the actions of others to flourish and caused unimaginable pain to others around him, without remorse, without any form of empathy towards the people he harmed as a result. And for what? Also, he can exploit the lives of women around him and use his so-called fame and glory to sleep with so many women as possible. That's why Naruto poured all his hatred into these blows, all his pain, suffering, rage, and anger into each hit, each blow designed to destroy Jiraiya physically, so when the man did regain his mental faculties, they would shortly be broken, knowing his former student had brought him low. That both had fought at their best, and it was the student who came at the top. And without any form of exercise and excuse, Jiraiya could try to conjure up in order to save face. Damn, Gaki, I thought I had beaten him. Bloody when he peeped on me all those years ago in the hot springs, commented Tsunade, while she saw Jiraiya was even worse shape since the moment in the time so long ago. You already beat him within the inch of his life. The only way to stop it was to beat him with the fraction of that. Not to mention, he deserved it, said Naruto while knowing Jiraiya was just barely clinging to his life and would soon die if Tsunade didn't stabilize in the next 2 seconds, literally. True, but even still, I didn't think there was any way you or anyone else, for that matter, could top what I did. Of course you are an Uzumaki on your mother's side. The clan was always said to do the impossible when others said it was impossible, said Tsunade while she very reluctantly stabilized Jiraiya despite part of her whispering that the man should just let here to be rot and die. Especially after everything he just admitted to Naruto and her during the fight. What Jiraiya knew was that prior to the arrival to the training ground, Naruto had placed a very large and powerful seal around them, one which Tsunade activated after her old teammates arrived when his bag to the woman. It was designed so everyone in it would be compelled to speak the truth about a subject, no matter what the topic. Naruto had wanted to know just how low Jiraiya had sunk so he could justify beating the idiot the way he had just done now. While Naruto had suspected Jiraiya on one of the lowest forms of life in existence, he didn't expect the Sanis to have fallen this low. To think, due to many childish actions spurred by some stupid prophecy, the fool had caused his former teammate to join Root. As a result, Orochimaru became twisted by the man running it, which eventually caused the Sanin to go rogue for various three numbers of reasons, one of which was the Sandam choosing Jiraiya's student and Naruto's future father as Hokage. Even worse, Orochimaru could have been Minato's sensei, which could have prevented the Sanin from becoming a twisted and so obsessed with immortality to go down such a dark path. One that Naruto suspected Danzo had a hand in nurturing, and the Sandam Hokage himself encouraged down the road, if only to make sure his former student channeled his newfound interest for the betterment of the whole Konoha. Heal him as best as you can, Tsunade, but not too much. I don't want him being a sensei or shinobi anymore. He has no right to be one after the shit we just heard from him, says Naruto, while Tsunade could only agree with him. In truth, Jiraiya's time as a shinobi was ending. The man had lost the respect of his peers, his fellow shinobi, and the next generation of Konoha itself. His spy network was messed up with internal problems. He was hated by Konoichi in and out of Konoha, and the man had not been in an actual fight in years, so his skills were no doubt rusty. Even if Tsunade could fix all of the damaged injuries Naruto had just inflicted on Jiraiya, which was an if, a big one. At the moment, the perverted fool would never be worthy of being a shinobi of Konoha ever again. It was best just to leave the man in a crippled and semi-vegetative state in the hospital where he could slowly wither away until ultimately he died. All the while trapped within his own body, unable to move, realize just how big a fuck up he truly was before he ended up like this. That was the punishment Naruto wanted for Jiraiya. The punishment the man ultimately deserved for his action, for his crimes, because of him and his selfishness to make a possible prophecy come true. The world had been slowly thrown into chaos. Had the man just been responsible, actually took his own training of his own students seriously, things would have been different without question. But the man didn't act responsible in any shape or form. He didn't train seriously. He didn't not even train any of his 3 students. His action sets things in motion for darker powers to make their moves and bring about pain and suffering to the world. So it was only natural that the man suffered such an ending. To be alone in the darkness of a room, no one can visit, no one to see, no one to speak to anymore, and about anything, unable to move without feeling incredible pain. A true hell if there was ever one, and it was one Naruto believed Jiraiya deserved with all of his being. As this is where I'm going to be leaving this part of, guys. I hope you like this one, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel. As this is Apollo Uchiha, and I'm signing out. Peace.